Thinking about moving to Missoula or Billings, well, you're in the right place because in today's video, we're going to do a battle of the cities. Now, my name is Diana. I'm a realtor here in Missoula, Montana, serving the surrounding areas as well. And today I have a very special guest. We have Alyssa Webb, who is a rock star realtor in Billings, Montana. And we're just going to duke it out in a very friendly way and just compare both cities, some of the hot topics that are going on, and just keep it casual. And of course, if you have any questions or if you want us to elaborate on anything, leave us some comments down below. We can definitely do a part two because I just have a feeling that Alyssa and I are just going to be chitter chatter, chitter chatter. We'll see how much we get through. Alyssa, I've got my coffee. I'm ready to go. Are you ready to do this?
I'm ready to go, but I forgot my coffee, so fail,
Oh,
but that's okay. I'm ready.
Mama needs some fuel, so we got it for today. Okay, cool. So where should we start? What's your
Let's,
just jump right in. What's your most favorite thing about Billings?
oh my gosh. My most favorite thing about Billings, I think Billings is like a hidden gem. So if you're driving off the interstate, a lot of people are like, oh, all you see is gas refineries and it doesn't look great off the interstate. I'm like, yeah, that's off the interstate. Like you have to just get off the road, go into town a little
Mhm.
bit. I call it town, but it's like what, the biggest city in Montana. I call it like the smallest big city.
How
But
many people do you guys have?
oh my gosh, I think the 2020 census has us a little over 160,000. So
Holy
yeah,
smokes.
it's crazy. If you're including like those smaller towns and like counties that are kind of part of the greater area, I bet we're pushing 200,000. So
Wow, wow.
yeah, it's growing tremendously. And with that comes some infrastructure change and new businesses. So we're seeing a lot of new businesses, new roads, new trails. So we're seeing a lot of money coming into the city in terms of some awesome stuff for the residents and travelers, tourists. So it's just really exciting. I'm really enjoying the growth that we're seeing. I think it's a positive growth, not a bad
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys are sitting at around 200,000, Missoula is about half of that. We're sitting about 75 to 100,000 people.
Okay.
So I was gonna say my most favorite thing about Missoula is the small town vibe, like the sense of community here. Like I will go out on like a family day or even just like running around town to some of my listings. Like I always run into people. Like at the supermarket, even when my
Yeah.
hair is like crazy like this, I always run into people. Or I have like a listing coming up and I'm like, oh, I have a friend that lives down the road, or so and so's mom lives over here. So it's definitely that sense of community. And I kind of like running into people
Yeah,
because
that's
that's
interesting
just
you say that because I feel like all of Montana's like that. I lived in
is
Bozeman
it?
for a few years. Yeah, and Billings is the same way. Even though we're like double the size almost of Missoula, it's like I'll run into people everywhere. But I also feel
Mhm.
like being in real estate, that kind of
Yeah.
happens. You get immersed in a lot of community events, and so you really get to
Mhm.
know a
Mhm.
ton of people in the community.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's just I call it like the smallest big town, like even the state. Like I could go travel and I feel like I'll run into someone like, oh hey, what are you doing here in Kalispell? Like so
I
weird.
hear ya. I hear ya. So let's dive into one of the topics that we had bookmarked for today. Let's go into like cost of living.
A big one.
What is it like? How's the housing market? How's the rental market? I get that question a lot
Yeah. I get that
over here.
question. I get that question a lot as well. And I'm so eager to hear what it's like in Missoula. So, in the Billings area, I mean, just in general, and you know this as a realtor, it like the COVID pandemic, like just skyrocketed prices so much, right? Because the demand, people were trying to move out of the cities and move out
Yeah.
where, they didn't have as much restrictions and all of that. So prices went boom, 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 right? And I think
Mhm.
now it's just more steady. So what I'm seeing in Billings right now, our average, well, maybe median price is right under that $400,000 mark. Um, that would probably be for like 3, 4 bedroom, 2 bath, 2,600 square feet, a decent sized lot. That's not like 10 acres and,
Yeah.
a big old house, but just your kind of like average price is right around that $400,000 mark. And then with rent, I don't know if you do rentals. I don't specifically do rentals, but as an agent, I keep up with the rental market, right? Because
Totally.
you have to know what's going on. I think like I don't know, probably a 1 bedroom would average like $1,000 a month. But if you're looking for a 2 or 3 bedroom, I mean, you're going to be up there. I've seen 3 bedrooms at like 2,500, 3,000 a month. And it also depends on location because
Totally.
I don't know if Missoula, you have areas that are more affordable than others. I mean, we have that here in Billings. So like Billings
Yeah.
West End, you're going to be paying more money if you buy or if you rent. But if you move to Billings Heights or the Lockwood area, those are going to be more like affordable. You get more bang for your buck, I say.
Mhm.
So yeah, what about Missoula? Where are you guys sitting for average price?
So I just pulled from May 2024 and we're sitting right under 600,000.
Woo, okay.
Um, for 3 beds, 2 bath,
Okay.
like right under 2,000 square feet. And because I don't know about you, but when people reach out to me, especially on YouTube, I must have the aura to help like really big families. So
Yeah.
I have been getting reach outs from people with 5, 10, 12 kids, and they need really big homes.
Yeah.
And so finding 5 plus bedrooms at a decent price, even at 600,000, it's like
Mhm.
a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
So we definitely have a ton of 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms. Everything over that is like, I
Yeah.
hate to even say it, like 700 plus
Mhm.
for a house that was maybe built, I don't know, 30 years ago and
Yeah.
it needs some work. So I don't know if you've noticed, but it's moving to Montana has been trendy ever since COVID.
Mhm.
Like it's cool, it's hot. I mean, I get it, it's pretty awesome here, but that does lead into everything increasing.
Mhm.
And while I don't specifically help with rentals, I definitely am a point people in the right direction. Like,
Yeah.
I don't do rentals, but you know what? So and so can
Yeah.
definitely help
Same.
you do
Yeah.
rentals or find a rental or property manage. I'm like, I will put you into the right hands.
Yeah.
Trust this person because they're amazing. But we're actually these folks, they have a 2023 1 bed 1 bath and they're looking to rent it out for $1,800 a month.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's a little steep.
Super steep,
Yeah.
super steep, but you can get a house down in Hamilton, which is about an hour-ish from Missoula down south. um you can get an entire house for under 3,000 for
Wow.
maybe 4 or 5 bedrooms.
Okay.
So while Missoula proper is pretty pricey, like right out of Missoula, you have like Lolo and Florence. Like those places are not any cheaper. If
Okay.
anything, Ravalli County is more expensive. And
Yeah.
then I can't even say like Victor is cheaper because
Yeah.
there are $1 million houses in Victor,
Yes.
but they also come with like acres and acres and
Acres.
acres of
You move
land.
closer to mountains, trails, lakes,
Mhm.
like outdoor stuff. We see that here. Like the closer you get, like people are like, well, what if I move outside of town a little bit? I'm like, you're not
Not
really getting much
really.
cheaper. The closer you're
You're
getting to
not.
those mountain lakes, the trails, the ski lodge, like you head to the Beartooth Mountains, which is our mountain range here. like it gets way more expensive because you're getting those like rustic cabins and that like
Yeah,
Yellowstone vibe, right? I'm sure
yeah,
you have the
yeah.
same thing. You get
Oh
that
yeah.
vibe to pay for it. So
Oh
sorry if
yeah.
you hear my dogs. I think someone is like doing construction. So you have the dogs barking in the background.
All good.
Yeah. So like I always tell people, and I've noticed this just from working with different clients that are calling us YouTube agents, and I don't know if Missoula is similar, but we get a lot of calls from people like on the East Coast or in the Midwest.
Mhm.
And, their markets, you can get a house for like 200, 250,000. Like 200 or 250,000 isn't going to get you anything here that could qualify for a loan type that you might be looking for,
No,
like first time home buyer or VA loan. That like that price here is definitely going to be a fixer upper or like a
a manufactured
yeah,
trailer.
manufactured home on land you can find that price, and some are even up to 400,000 or so with like 1 to 5 acres. But like maybe in little tiny town like Joliet or Roberts, we have these smaller towns outside of Billings, Roundup. You can find these cute little like craftsman, old historic homes that you can maybe find in the 200s. Um, but for the most part, like if you're moving into like Billings proper, and it's probably similar for
Exactly.
you,
Exactly. Yeah.
like it's just different. The cost of living's higher here. I think we're isolated. We're like the
Yeah.
northernmost interstate, like I-94 merges into I-90, right? And we're like
Yeah.
I think we're the northernmost interstate in the country. I don't think there's any interstate that's above I-90. No. So it's like it's
Yeah.
isolated to get over here, so it costs more to get the building, like the supplies
Mhm.
and labor here,
Mhm.
and just like all the things. The cost of living, I think, here is a little bit higher than the national average.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Like it may be under the national average, but I moved from Virginia like over 10 years ago or close to 10 years ago. And it's like I feel like it's like the same thing. Like I might be saving a little bit here, but I'm paying a little more here
Mhm.
for groceries.
Mhm.
So it's like, it all kind of balances out. So yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you see? Do you think groceries, like where does groceries and utilities and transportation costs, like how do you feel like that compares to the national average or other places or where
Yeah.
your clients are coming from?
So I'm definitely seeing the same things. Now there's a local, like a mom and pop grocery store, and I don't go there very often, unless I'm like in a pinch because it is the closest grocery store to me. And I saw $13 asparagus, like a thing of
Like
asparagus.
a bunch
Yes.
of asparagus for $13?
Yes. I'll see if I can insert the picture here,
It should
if
be
I
like
can find it.
two. What?
$13. I was like, yeah, nope. Um, so like I don't go to that supermarket. Like I do want to support local, but like $13 asparagus, like I guess we're not eating asparagus for the next couple of years. I mean the gas prices are like okay compared
Yeah,
to
I
other
think it's
states.
lower
We're
most.
at like $3 and like 70 cents. Um, which I think is a little bit lower than all the other places, but I definitely got a culture shock when we moved here because we also moved from Virginia or the DC area.
Nice.
I didn't
I
know
didn't
that
know
about
that.
you.
Yeah, I'm from Fairfax County, Virginia.
We moved from Manassas,
Oh,
Virginia.
oh, I grew up in Manassas when my parents divorced. That's so crazy. Guys, like the people watching this, they're like, okay, this is weird. How'd you guys not know you're from the same area? So I split my time between Fairfax County and Prince William County. So
I
yeah.
taught for Prince William County Schools.
Wow, that is so crazy. Yep, my dad lived off of 234 by Popeyes, like past the Manassas Mall. He
Yeah,
lived there, so I split my time there and like
that's
Centerville
so funny.
area. So
That is so funny. Our old house used to be right by two silos,
no way.
right
Oh,
off 234. See, this is what I love.
this is what I'm telling you. Montana is
I
the
tell
biggest
you.
small town. Like, okay, two people who are in real estate on
I had
YouTube
no
talking
idea.
about our town, and we're both from like the same area. This is so crazy. How did we not even know?
So And then like I was having a play date with some friends, and it was like a group activity, and this other mom just like, yeah, we moved here from Virginia. And I was like, hold up,
Yeah.
let's talk about this.
What?
No, no joke, she moved from maybe 10 minutes away from where we moved from.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Yesterday I was talking to a client and they're going to move here, and she is Brazilian. And I was like, amazing. I speak Portuguese too.
That is so cool.
So it's just like all these little connections that I really just love. So going back to your question, which was,
Like
I
utilities,
don't remember.
grocery, cost of
Oh,
living.
utilities.
Yeah.
Okay. So at about 1,500 square feet, you're looking at about $100 in utilities. At least that's like the average, unless you're like
Mhm.
crazy, turn on the lights all the time, or running your
Yeah.
AC or your heat constantly. Um, Now, a little caveat with that is having a wood burning stove is huge. Do you see that in a lot of the houses
Oh,
out there?
oh, yeah.
Okay,
We have a
good.
ton of wood burning stoves here. They're so efficient. They're great for heating
They're
spaces. They
amazing.
reduce your like your gas, electric bill, like
Yeah,
all of that.
yeah.
So yeah, utilities are about the same here. Like the same
Okay,
thing. I
yeah,
think utilities are way less than a lot of other places. I think that's one thing where we really beat out a lot of other locations. And I've
yeah,
just learned that from like people moving here from different areas. Like
yeah.
the water, trash, gas, electric, a lot of places like I grew up with all electric heat, like
Oh, wow.
everything. I
That's
didn't even know
crazy.
what gas heat was until I moved to Montana. I'm not even kidding. I had no idea gas forced air was a thing. I'm like, what? Also didn't know about radiant floor heating either. Like there's so many things I've learned since moving to Montana.
Mhm.
But overall, I think utilities are like way
Yeah,
better.
yeah. Um, it was that part was like a decrease for us, but
Mhm.
I mean, I'm getting a lot of reach outs from buyers moving from Texas,
Mhm.
California, um, Ohio is a big one for me.
Yes, I've seen that too. Yep.
um, North Carolina,
Yep.
Rhode Island, Massachusetts. So those are the places that like I'm getting reach out from. And I would say 95% is because one of the adults got a job here.
hmm
So how is the job market in Billings?
Oh my gosh, I think the job market is incredible. There are so many opportunities here. I mentioned like we're just seeing tremendous growth here in a lot of positive ways. So Billings just opened up the Rocky Vista Osteopathic Medical School. So it's the first medical school in Montana.
Cool.
And that's brought a ton of jobs. I'm going to pull up my phone because I just wrote down, I was doing some research because I was curious. So, a lot of our job industry here is so energy because we have gas refineries, we have steel production, we have a lot of healthcare jobs because we have two major
Mhm.
hospitals here in
Yeah.
Billings,
Yeah.
Billings Clinic and Intermountain Health. We have Montana State University of Billings and Rocky Mountain College. And Billings Public Schools School District 2 is a huge employer. So I was looking
Mhm.
up employment opportunities the other day. So with all of that, I do think average salaries are like slightly below the national averages. So if you folks out there
Okay.
are wondering, I do think it's a little lower than most other places, but competitive within our state. So where we're at right now, we have 29 vacant jobs with the city of Billings, 9 vacancies with the county of Yellowstone, and Billings sits inside Yellowstone County.
Okay.
104 vacancies at Billings Public Schools, 163 at Billings Clinic, and 133 at Intermountain Health. So that just
Oh,
shows
wow.
you. And
Wow.
I mean, that's a wide variety of things, right? So if we're looking at Intermountain Health, that could be support staff to a surgeon. I mean, it's
Right.
all over the
Right.
map,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
But I mean, that just shows there's a lot of opportunity here. So, like, viewers out there, if you're in the medical field, there's a lot going on in Billings,
Yeah.
and we
No,
need more
no.
people.
Come to Missoula. We've got two major hospitals too. We've got this is where we duke it out, guys. I've got the dual screen too. Um no, we have two major hospitals too, and we got a and ton of nurses, but I've also seen a lot of travel nurses that come here and they're like,
Yeah.
I need a rental for 3 months.
Yeah.
So and they just opened up another health clinic here in the Bitterroot. So it's I want to say it's called the Bitterroot Health Center down in Stevensville, Montana, and it's brand new. My husband went there. He went to the urgent care because he had a really bad sinus infection. But he said everybody was really great. He actually didn't have to wait for very long, which was great. It was nice and clean in there, so he really had a good experience there.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, and we just opened up an Amazon warehouse up in
Nice. So
up in
cool.
Wye. That's how you spell Y.
Y. Yep. WYE. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
So
outside of
like,
a little bit. Is it like west?
yep.
Yeah.
So Missoula is like a T. So it's
Yep.
like this and then like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Y is off on the left-hand side, so west. Yes.
It's
Hmm.
so funny that we're duking it out, like trying to get our viewers to decide because I'm a huge Grizz fan. I love
Okay.
Missoula. We hold season tickets to the Grizz games. Like I am Missoula hardcore. Honestly, I'd probably move there if I didn't have kids in school here.
Well, question for you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a lot of public school openings. Do
Hmm.
you find that the teacher positions are filled? Because I get that question quite a bit because when people are moving, oftentimes they bring their kids with them, so they're looking at public school options.
Hmm.
And we just had in Missoula County Public Schools, they just cut the art teachers, and
Oh, yeah.
it's like a big, it was a really big deal. And so like the parents were like banding together on how to make this work because they really value the arts as they should because it's amazing. So we're having some budget cuts that are really affecting our schools,
Mm.
and um, we are seeing like vacancies in schools. And I mean, teacher turnover, that's nothing new. And like being a former teacher, that's like, oh my God, I have to know all the things.
Yeah.
But teacher turnover is has been like normal, unfortunately, in the past like
Mhm.
5 to 10 years,
Okay.
and increasing. But are you seeing like teacher vacancies within the schools, like they're having a hard time like combining classes because we've got some horror stories around here.
Yeah, no, not really. So actually, my boyfriend, who's kind of like my husband, we're just not married, but he actually works for the school district. So I have
Okay,
kind of a little inside knowledge of
you
the school
know.
district. Yeah. And I actually used to work for the school district here in payroll. So I have a lot of friends that still work
Okay.
in the district, but I don't really feel like there's a lot of teacher turnover
Mm-hmm.
per se. I think support staff is one that they often
Mm-hmm.
need a lot.
Yeah,
There's a lot of vacancies and stuff like crosswalk guards and,
yeah.
lunch and late
Paras.
hours. Yep, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
um, I think that teachers maybe not so much. I know like a few years ago there was this like rule that after a certain number of years you had to transfer to a different school or whatever, and then they got rid of
Oh
that.
wow.
And I feel like
I
when
would
they got
hope so.
yeah, when they got rid of that, I feel like less vacancies and turnovers maybe
Mhm.
with teachers. I don't think that's a huge issue
Okay.
that I've seen.
Okay.
And when I was looking at the vacancies, it was more like sports. I think they're really trying to fill like
Coaches.
yeah,
Yeah.
sports positions and like support staff and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Um, but yeah, I don't really see that too much here. So
I know that's in some of like the Ravalli County schools, like they have a very interesting structure, like coming from Virginia, where there's like just in where I taught, there were 14 high schools and one superintendent,
wow,
and which is absurd.
that's kind of to
But
say.
like Florence has the elementary school, middle school, and high school. They're all on the same campus with one superintendent. Same is true for Victor. Same is true
Mhm.
for Stevensville, and which I think is great because I've actually met the superintendent quite a few times. Like you see him out and about in the community, but I
Mhm.
know that some of like the Ravalli County schools did have some trouble getting like math teachers, science teachers. So
Mm,
they did have some vacancies at the beginning of the school year. They were able to fill them. But I believe that students had to do like online classing or combined classing. Like they had to get creative for a couple weeks until they were
mm,
able to hire. So this is something that I wanted to point out. And we do have a very strong homeschooling community here in
yeah.
Missoula and in the
We do.
Bitterroot. And it's just, there's such strong communities where there are like co-op opportunities and like they
Mhm.
do field trips and they did a field day a couple weeks
That's
ago. And
awesome.
it's such a strong homeschooling community. And literally, if you have any question, they will answer it for you. They help
Yeah.
you track your hours, make sure you're following all the rules, make sure you're writing your letter of intent every year. They even have what's called curriculum swaps
Oh,
where
nice.
everybody, yeah, it's really awesome because, of course, here in Missoula, we have the best library in the country. Apparently, they got like some really big award. Now, this
Really?
library,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
they
have to,
did.
okay, I'm gonna have to go look next time I'm there.
It's a really amazing library. I'm not just saying that. But yeah, they rent out the fourth floor of the library and everybody brings their curriculum and you can like look through
What?
it and ask questions. It's a really cool event. And then
Okay.
of course, if you want to then like buy it, like, oh, my kid is done with this English program, you can use this, or we can trade and then reconvene in 6 months when it's
Wow.
great. So our homeschooling community is hot,
You sold
so
me. Like
strong.
I'm ready to move to Missoula and homeschool and meet the library
Yay!
and just give me my prairie skirt. I'm ready to homestead. Just, all the things.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
so cool. We have a pretty good homeschooling community. I think it grew a lot in popularity during the pandemic, right? And what's cool here is I have friends on both sides of the spectrum. Some people do homeschooling for religious reasons, right? With a
Mhm.
faith based like curriculum or background. But then I have friends that did it because of how lax the restrictions were
Mhm.
during that time. And there
Mhm.
were some health concerns. So they
Mhm.
wanted to do it
Mhm.
no religious reasons at all. So we see
Yeah,
both sides of the
yep,
spectrum
yep,
here for our homeschooling
yeah.
meetups and that kind of stuff. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, yeah. So we have both
That's
ends
good
of
to
that
see.
here. Yeah, it's really
Just,
cool. And they do the same thing. They meet up and they're happy to help each other and share
mhm.
curriculum and like all this
Mhm.
great stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting. I think just Montana as a whole is really easy to homeschool compared to states like California.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple reach outs from homeschooling families in California. So they
Mhm.
want to come
Okay.
over here because it's a lot easier here.
Yeah.
So let's pick one more topic. And of
Okay.
course, we're just gonna have to do a part two, but
Part
let's
two.
pick
We might even be pushing a part three, Diana. That's
okay,
okay. We're having
four or
fun.
five, four,
Yeah.
5, 6.
It's a series,
Um,
guys.
that's too funny. All right, let's touch base on maybe like quality of life,
Yeah.
things to do.
Yeah.
Um, are you guys bored over there? What you got going on?
I mean, okay, let's just say this in general. I feel like you get a little more bored if you move to Montana in general. Let's be real. We don't have as much going on as Salt Lake City or Denver. Like those are our vacation spots when you move to Montana. Okay. So if you guys need to compare, we like to go to Denver and Salt Lake for fun things, but no, we do. We have like great things here. And I think one of the biggest pulls to anywhere in Montana, Missoula and Billings alike, is going to be the outdoor quality
Yeah,
of life,
yeah.
right? I mean, we have the Yellowstone River runs right through Billings, so we have a ton of fishing. A lot of people float the river when the weather's nice. It's like 55 and raining today, which is like weird and
Same. Yeah,
abnormal. Ugh.
yeah.
Um, but here in Billings, it's not super mountainous like your area. Like you could step outside and you have these like grand mountains, right? So we
You
have,
should see what's behind this door.
I'm sure, I'm
It's
so
like the price
jealous.
is right. Open the door and view.
I love it. We have the rim rocks here. So the rim rocks are kind
Uh-huh.
of this like sandstone, kind of like layered rock. It's this ridge, this plateau. We have a lot of plateaus and these cool like rock structures.
Cool.
And they're beautiful and they are hikeable and you can mountain climb. Like some people mountain climb them and are like scaling them and stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're brave people. But they're not
Cool.
just like it's not super mountainous in like the Billings proper. You're going to see more of the plateaus, but we have the Beartooth Mountains and the Pryor Mountains that are within driving distance, like an hour. So that's going
Cool.
to be your big like waterfall hikes and big mountain lakes
Cool.
and
Cool.
your ski resort. So the ski resort is in Red Lodge, which is like a little over an hour or an hour, depending on where you're driving from Billings. Um, so I just think that outdoor life is here. And I mentioned
Yeah.
earlier, we're seeing a lot of growth. So we have a new road that just opened, but part of that was also creating a bike trail that connected to existing bike trails. So we really, really pride ourselves on our bike trails.
Cool.
They are extensive. They go across the entire Rimrock. So if you're just like anywhere in Billings and you look up, you can see this like long ridge. That's the Rimrocks. There's a trail, a paved trail that goes the entire length of it. And that's where our airport
Cool.
sits. Um,
Very cool.
so it's super cool. And you can go off the trail. So there's like pine trees and there's like hiking that you can do off the trail.
Very
It's
cool.
really, and there's different parks off of it. So different parking lots, different parks. It's really beautiful. You can see the whole
Cool.
city of Billings. You can see the Beartooth Mountains, the Pryor Mountains. It's a gorgeous thing. So I
Cool.
think that is what you're going to see here in Billings for like quality of life. We also have a ton of city parks. The city parks just got a bunch of money and are renovating like all the
That's
parks. I feel
awesome.
like they're
That's
beautiful.
awesome.
Lots of splash
That's awesome.
pads for the
Mhm.
kiddos, our
Yeah.
grandkids or whatever. But yeah, I think it's great. I love it. Like I said, I moved here, 10 years ago, and I
Mhm.
love it way more than what I grew up in. I think the quality of
Cool.
life is way better, slower pace, less traffic, all of that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting you said about the trail, the really long trail, because we have one too.
Oh, do you?
No, we sure do. We have it. It's a paved trail, 50 miles from
Nice.
Missoula all the way down to Hamilton. Yeah, it's really cool. It does run along the highway, but it's like off the highway a little bit, so
It
people can.
goes all the way to Hamilton. Stop it.
It's
It's been a
very
while
cool.
since I've been down there, but my most recent trip I went to Lolo. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, that's not very far from Missoula, but it goes all the way to
No.
Hamilton. That is so
Hmm. Yeah,
cool.
it runs right through Lolo and everything. I was gonna say, yeah, we have a ton of parks as well, lots of hiking to do. We have fabulous farmers markets. We have some in Missoula. We have some in
Yeah,
there's a really sweet small one in Stevensville,
yeah.
and like craft markets. We get shows all the time, like the circus is coming here.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
We do too. A lot
yes,
of that.
yeah. So there's I'm not bored, but you do have to like put yourself out there.
Yeah, you
So
have to look for it. It's not always
right.
very easy to find what's going on. We have a website. It's like Billings 365 that you can find some of
Mhm,
the events.
mhm.
But I find like honestly going on Facebook and seeing like
Yeah,
Facebook events for
yeah.
your area is one of the easiest ways. What about you? Like, do you have a website where you can find things?
Yeah, it's called 406. I'll put it down here. I can't remember. It's like 406 something. And it's the exact same thing. It lists all of the events, but also the community does a really good job with like Facebook events. So you do have to like find stuff to do.
Yeah.
But it's not hard. And one of the major activities here, especially in the summertime, is we've got three major rivers that run through Missoula, and people like to swim on the river, or like my kids are younger, so they'll just play like right by the riverside, and we call it the Montana beach because it's
Yeah.
sand and water, and they bring their little toys. I did a whole other video on Montana Beach, and people will take their boats and go paddle boarding. And in like right in the downtown Missoula area, there's some brave souls that will go surf on the waves
Okay.
of the Clark Fork River, and it's because of the rocks and stuff. So it like
Yeah.
creates these waves. It's very, very cool. So never a boring moment.
Yeah.
I like we moved from the same area, so I think the quality of life is definitely much better here. Like we don't have any traffic unless there's a major accident,
Yeah.
which does tend to happen every once in a while, but
Especially
we
when it's
don't.
snowy and icy, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just
Wow.
like a beautiful sunny day and
Yeah.
boom, accident. So
Wow.
other than that, like we're happy here. It's a slower pace of life. So
That's
feels
awesome.
good.
That's so cool. Okay. So here we are. Let's do a recap for our people.
Okay.
So I think so far, what I think is that it's very similar, but the bigger differences are going to be um geographically, like location. Obviously, we
Hmm.
have different settings, right?
Totally.
And then maybe like price of housing, a little bit more
Hmm.
there, a little more, for lack of a better word, affordable in
Right.
Billings. So that difference, but Missoula has a lot of great things, and I know this because I go there all the
Yeah.
time for the
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, what should we do next time? What should we talk about
Okay.
next?
Let me look on my list. So we did touch on education a little bit. I think we should touch on weather. I don't think there will be too much of a
Yes,
difference, but we can still talk about weather,
it's a key.
culture, diversity. Maybe we touched on housing market, and maybe just like what we personally like to do. I
Yeah,
think would be kind of fun.
yeah,
So viewers, stay tuned. Part two. And thank you so much for coming on here and chatting about
yeah.
Billings. And of course, if you're thinking about moving to Billings, reach out to Alyssa because she's awesome. And if you're thinking about or moving to Missoula, Montana, or down in Ravalli County, obviously reach out to me. We will take such good care of you and we would be honored to help you. Alyssa, until next time, bring your coffee next
Yeah,
time.
I'm gonna go get some coffee right now. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good rest of your day. Okay.
All right, you too.